And what I want to do is really burden your heart as well for what I believe, which is the new path to engaging with regard to our brands. See, all of us are hearing and sensing the crisis. The sirens are blowing. I wonder how many of us are hearing the siren and how many of us are receiving the signal of what is happening. We are really at the turning point, at the tipping point of a revolution. So I think it is only the right thing really to do in terms of questioning ourselves, in terms of are we as business leaders, are we actually doing the right thing? And is it time that we reframe our business in the context of society is the big question. So Nimal has been speaking about this. All of us know that today, money alone is powerless. In the old economy, money meant a lot. Shareholders meant a lot. A lot of vision statements talk about shareholders. But I think that is no longer true, and that is no longer enough. The new reality is the fact that today, millennials are asking questions, more fundamental questions than never before. And I'm sure all of us realize when we look at the younger people in our organizations, when we look at our children, the kinds of questions that they ask us are far more profound than what we, some of the baby boomers, have done in the past. So today the conversation really is about shared meaning. And what is meaning? Everybody, millennials today are questioning about why, how. Those are the questions that they're asking us. You know, it is not about consuming a brand for what it gives and for what it helps me to project out there in the marketplace. It is moved beyond. Those have become fundamentals. And today, deeper questions are being asked. So are we as custodians and leaders of businesses realizing this for our own business as well? And these are two examples of global brands which started off with purpose really at the heart. Tom's is a brand which is known as the brand which is a one-for-one brand. And what does it do? Each time you buy a Tom's shoes, and they're not the fanciest and best-looking, glamorous shoes, but you buy those shoes with a purpose. And what it does is, you know, as you invest in a pair of Tom's shoes, you are investing in feeding, in clothing the less fortunate. And that is what purpose is, and that is what drives a consumer, the new consumer, the millennial, the Gen Y and Gen Alpha as we move on. So are we looking that far and forward? And Patagonia is another beautiful example of how they've held purpose so true that, you know, purpose is something that starts from within. And then everything that you do around you embraces purpose. And Patagonia basically started as a company that did tools for climbers. And then it is in the space of outdoor sporting, subtle sporting, where there are no crowds to applaud you. But what Patagonia does is it is looking at the environment, protecting the environment. Everything that it does is about the causes for the environment. So the question is, so how does an organization, how does a brand, how does a business really take on purpose? And the way it does that is in a meaningful manner, because it is at the end of the day, we're running businesses, but how do you actually also lead it into higher purpose is where you, on the one hand, need to understand what is that relevant social tension. What is that social tension that we can embrace, which is aligned to the highest virtue of our brand, because our brand also has meaning. So how do we bring these two together and create purpose? And at that point where the merger happens, where there is synergy, is where purpose emanates. So purpose has 4 basic principles. One is purpose has to be consumer-facing. And consumer-facing meaning that power has to trickle down to society. Society has to start working for you. Society needs to believe. Society needs to become an evangelist for you. And that is where, and that's one fundamental principle, because whoever you're serving needs to believe in it. It has to have a purpose out there which is relevant. It has to have a business case. Whatever we are doing, are we actually inculcating, are we promoting something that is going to be relevant for our business as well as good for society? You know, one brand in Sri Lanka, a toothpaste brand, all of us know how it started. Today, toothbrushing penetration is 99%, right? What it did was it did something which was socially relevant, but it had a business case in it. So we have to look at both sides, and it is about finely balancing both these. It has to be desirable, absolutely desirable, because you know, if it has no meaning and purpose and relevance in the millennials and the Gen Alpha consumers' life, it is not going to work. And finally, it has to have authentic action. We need to set KPIs which are measurable, and which are measurable in terms of what is the social impact that we have created. It is not about our brand shares, and it is not about the business targets that we have met in terms of volume and value, but it is about business impact. And once we measure business impact, those business volumes definitely will come through. And you know, what gets measured, we all know that. What gets measured is what gets done. And if our measure is KPIs of this nature, then it definitely will work for us. So what I want to do, I hope I have burdened you to reframe your business in the context of society. And are we operating in the context of society, or are we operating in isolation? Thank you.